Alright everybody, so I did say we might be back, and here we are for Game 3 of Trench Warfare against It's Fine. I, of course, was busy casting another series, so I didn't see the first two games of this one, but it has come down to a decisive Game 3 for these two teams, who are battling each other in the Amateur Dota 2 League playoffs, the $55 division,
10 seconds
which is
remaining.
basically the entry division. So, just a quick word. If you like Dota, like playing with your friends, want to test yourselves and improve against other players of similar skill level, but you don't feel that you're a pro yet or you're that great, then give Amateur Dota 2 League a try. It's a nice, fun environment. You get your games casted often by startup casters like myself.
10 seconds remaining.
There's a chance for everybody. It's a nice new ground for everybody to just get better at what they do. And it's got multiple levels of competition, the entry and the champion division. So sign up with your friends and play together. AmateurDota2League.com. Check that out. So without further ado, we'll go into the picks. Some interesting bans here, ones that you don't usually see. Of course, every series or every team or at different levels have their own meta games. Draft, the captain, his name is Robert, I believe. If It's Fine, choosing to ban out Warlock first. And, Warlock, Doom we would see getting banned recently. Warlock, not as much. Warlock is a really strong teamfight hero with pretty good lane presence, so interesting choice there. I might believe that the meta was influenced, the meta of this particular series. In series in general, often a small meta game unique to that series emerges, and that might be the case in this game. Might explain why he banned it. For Trench Warfare, they took out the Slark first. Again, a very versatile hero that can lane in a bunch of different places. Pretty scary, hard to take down. So, good choice. First pick coming out for Trench Warfare is going to be the Brewmaster. This hero, after some recent changes, has become a pretty consistent first pick. He was nerfed recently. His passive proc chance for a Drunken Brawler and the amount of time it takes before it triggers automatically. But when this hero did first get buffed, he became a very popular first pick. He's incredibly strong as a mid or even as an offlaner. His ultimate just gives you a ton of control from the 3 different spirits and makes him very hard to kill. He's a hero that you can use to seize a decisive advantage in the earlier mid game. First pick coming out from the Dire is the Earthshaker. Now this is actually also a hero that has recently gotten some run or some popularity as a mid hero. I'm not sure if we'll see him in that role this game, but it's a hero that does a lot.
10 seconds remaining.
It's common to see these control-y type heroes come out early for both teams.
5 seconds remaining.
Just as a way of having disables and controlling the flow of a fight. Earthshaker, obviously, you have to watch out for when you take a fight, because if you clump up, you'll play right into an Echo Slam. And of course, he has stuns and disables of his own to be able to keep people down or hold them in place. Crystal Maiden we see coming out as the second pick for Trench Warfare. This is a support that also has been in and out of favor. Her strengths, she is able to jungle pretty independently because her Frostbite works very well on neutral creeps. So that can give her an advantage in terms of experience and getting that aura up. The aura, of course, does create mana regeneration for all your allies, so that helps in all your lanes. And she's a hero that does a fair amount of damage for support. Her Q, her Crystal Nova, does some pretty nice AoE damage. And of course, if you don't have a disable for her, then her freezing field is also quite painful if she gets that off successfully in a team fight. So, depending on positioning and how keen she is in finding out when enemy spells are being cast, the CM has a lot of potential, and she's just a really strong early support for laning and helping your lanes out in general. Second pick from the Dire is the Jakiro. Again, this is a very popular support in recent patches and iterations of the game. You'll commonly see Jakiro get up something like a Yule Scepter to set up his own ice path, but his Liquid Fire is one of the best harass skills in the game. It doesn't really cost mana, and it also slows down tower attack speed. So it's just a great overall skill. You can use it to push. You can use it as a tool for zoning people out of off lanes, and it just slows down carries later on too. So Jakiro just has a ton of AoE options at his disposal. And AoE seems to be the theme so far for It's Fine. Both their heroes do pretty nice amounts of area damage. And while Echo Slam is important, and so is Macropyre, these aren't ultimate dependent heroes, as say a Brewmaster is.
10 seconds remaining.
It's not the type of situation where you would keep track of when the ult is up
Radiant team pick.
when playing against them. So I do like that. That gives you more flexibility, and it also makes you not quite as experience dependent early on. So both these heroes have the potential to roam around a little bit, although Jakiro tends to stay more in lane or even get used in a farming role.
Dire team
And
pick.
I just totally just forgot whatever I was saying and just had to drop it because Trench Warfare decided to go with a Pudge. And how can you not like that? As a spectator of the game, this is the hero that you want to see as often as possible. He's a crowd pleaser, just for obvious reasons. Like it's a high skill cap, skill shot hero,
10 seconds
and it's just
remaining.
exciting to see people get hooked in or not get hooked in. So that's great that
5
they picked
seconds
him up.
remaining.
The CM is a pretty good setup for him. This might change how the lanes work. I have seen offlane Pudge a decent amount in ranked
time.
matches and pubs, but you usually need a good lane partner for him. Usually, though, Pudge goes mid, so it's quite possible that he will be squeezing that Brewmaster out of mid, and they'll send the Brewmaster to the offlane. The Brew is perfectly fine with that. If not, we could see a very interesting aggressive lane combination here out of Trench Warfare if they choose to send the Pudge top. Meanwhile, Dire picks up their mid, most likely, with the Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit, of course. Again, AoE is the theme here for It's Fine. He has a lot of AoE damage. He's a very high skill cap, maneuverable hero. You can cast your
10
spells
seconds remaining.
inside of both his Remnant Traveling and his Sleight of Fist. So,
5 seconds
high skill
remaining.
cap with chaining together things like Sleight of Fist and Searing Chains on individual or faraway targets when you only have a
Reserve time.
split second to cast your Searing Chains in the Sleight of Fist. The Sleight of Fist itself can be used to dodge certain spells and projectiles. I believe it dodges Hook, for example.
Dire
So
team pick.
that can be used. The Fire Remnants give him a lot of mobility and damage and chase potential. So Ember Spirit, a very high skill cap hero, and they shows that they have pretty good faith in their mid to be able to do that. And this is kind of the theme that we're seeing here. We're developing a bit of a theme of there's pretty strong single target coming out from Trench Warfare. And there's a ton of AoE coming out from It's Fine. All of
10
the heroes so
seconds
far
remaining.
do AoE. Trench Warfare, of course, do have some AoE, but for the
5
most
seconds
part,
remaining.
you want to be hooking people to kill them and setting up the hooks, so it's more of a single target oriented
Reserve
type
time.
of lineup, especially also with the single target stun and freeze coming out from the Crystal Maiden and Ogre. So, just as I said that, going away from your theme, It's Fine decided to go with a Bounty Hunter here. So that's likely going to be their offlaner. It's an interesting choice. We don't see Bounty Hunter as much anymore. But one of the main strengths of this hero, other than the pure annoyance potential that he has, and they
10
might be picking it
seconds
for that
remaining.
reason. They might be saying, hey, CM's going to be trying to jungle, so if you can go
5
to the
seconds
jungle
remaining.
and maybe steal some of the big creeps that she's been frostbiting, you can slow her down big time and just totally waste her mana
Reserve
and her
time.
spells. So he has the potential to do
Dire
that.
team
Also,
ban.
much of his value comes from being a gold accelerator from your team. If you're able to get track on the other team's heroes, then that's a huge source of income that can make everybody rich. The weakness of Bounty Hunter, of course, is that he's not great in team fights. He doesn't really have any AoE, and his lockdown is not reliable, though his Shuriken is able to cancel the channeling spells such as Crystal Maiden's Ultimate and Pudge's Dismember. But I guess that's more than made up for because the rest of It's Fine's lineup has plenty of team fight. So it'll be interesting to see who they pick as their carry in this situation. Looking at some of the bans, some of the more
10
popular ones have
seconds
been taken
remaining.
out. You won't see a Void this game. Might you see an anti-mage? I think
5
it's
seconds
possible if they feel that they can protect him, or possibly even a Spectre. I don't know.
Reserve
We'll see.
time.
And Trench Warfare is now, having made their last ban on the Lycan, is in position to take their last pick as the teams from lineups are beginning to round into shape. So, yeah, I mean, I think either way, this game's going to be really entertaining and fun to watch because you have a Pudge, and we're going to see how exactly that works out. Do they want to run even an aggressive tri-lane? Is that what they're considering here? If they get a self-sufficient solo bottom carry in this situation, then I think it's safe to say that's a plan that exists for them. And aggressive tri-lanes I haven't seen used very much in AD2L, but it's a tool at your disposal when when one team is counting on one carry, or especially farm dependent, or I want to say not a self-sufficient carry, someone that needs to be babysat and protected. Running an aggressive trial is a good way to do that. So they do pick up the Invoker last. No traditional hard carry here for Trench Warfare, but a super aggressive lineup that has a lot of early and mid-game potential. They might play their Invoker as kind of a carry, a semi-carry, sort of grab a Midas to get that Exhort build and just be able to put out a ton of damage. But this also opens up what I just talked about, some lane flexibility for Trench Warfare. It is possible now for them to send an aggressive lane top with the Pudge and put the Invoker or Brew bottom or mid, since they are able to handle that. Of course, they could also end up offlaning the Invoker, but I think since they don't have a carry in this position, it's more likely the Invoker is going to get mid or bottom safe lane, a place where he can get some farms, since they do want to secure that. So I like their plan here. I expect to see an aggressive action-packed lane, and I certainly hope that that's the case. And It's Fine are down to 45 seconds, going to make their last pick here in the carry position most likely. So they're probably going to have to pick someone who isn't just too dependent on being protected early and can hold his own, because whatever lane they send at you, when you have meaty heroes with disables like Pudge and Ogre, it's going to be kind of scary. You don't want to pick someone who's too squishy and too useless, or just going to get overrun. And mid-game is the calling card here for Trench Warfare. It is the time when they're going to be looking to make their move. And so they do decide to go with Necrophos. And I think there's some pretty fresh and relatively original drafts here coming out from both teams, so I certainly like that. Necrophos does combo a bit with their AoE theme, with, of course, his degen aura, and his ultimate is going to be pretty strong for, in this game, if the window for Radiant to win is mid-game, and you can slow down that window by ulting someone with Necrophos, reducing their respawn time, increasing the respawn time by 30 seconds, and possibly preventing buybacks once you get a Scythe, that's going to be pretty valuable. So this is an interesting pick here. It goes with their AoE. I want to say that Necrophos does require some experience. He doesn't do really well early on without experience, because he's not that hard to kill and he can't keep spamming his heals. So it is possible that they will, I think, carry the Ember and then put the Necrophos mid. So we'll have to see how that's deployed, as there is some packet loss right now. I think there is some patching, so I'm going to go inform the players of that. So they're going to send this Pudge top. Looks like Blake is headed up there. Doesn't look like they're going to send him any help though. So this is interesting. They're running Brew as their safe lane carry. Okay, this is something that you'll see some teams do, like Team EG, mostly at higher levels, do this. Pudge is a hero that doesn't really need much farm. He pretty much only needs levels to get his hookup, so it's not too bad to send him to the off lane, although I kind of fear for his safety if he's soloing here. So, again, we have Blake on the Pudge. For mid on the Radiant, we have Valeria, Windrunner, that's the Windrunner's name, playing the Invoker. Looks like he might be going for a Quas-Wex build, actually. We have Ziffy here on the Ogre bottom, and with Just Incredible, they'll be protecting him on the Brewmaster. And of course, the last leg of their tri-lane, HB on the Crystal Maiden. Getting that Frostbite first, so they might be looking for a surprise kill or to allow her to neutral early. On the Dire, we do have Traft, the captain, Rob on that Ember Spirit mid. He'll be going up against the Invoker. We have Windows 98, who I believe is usually their carry player, on the Necrophos. Hot Carl on the Jakiro. And Peanut Butter on the Earthshaker. I seem to have forgotten the hero names. And Jelly with the unenviable task of solo off-lane Bounty Hunter. So here we are. The game's underway. There doesn't seem to be any detection from the Radiant. So the Bounty Hunter, if he's aware of that, if he's looked in the inventory, shouldn't feel too threatened. Although the sudden surprise dust or Sentry Ward could be threatening to him, so he's just going to try to get down there and just steal whatever experience he can, maybe get some last hits like this one here, and just generally try to get himself to level 6 as soon as he can. He did not manage to plan his ward in time, so Some aggressive rune and river vision for the most part from the Radiant. Did not block the camp with this rune from Pudge, but I think Pudge is more concerned about them possibly rotating and killing him than he is about stopping the pull by himself. So, not a bad choice. Nice trade-off to make, especially if you're assuming that enemy supports are buying sentry lanes, sentry wards. Oh, man, I'm tired. It's my third game and I'm saying random stuff now. So he is getting some experience here. He's pulling a bit of a demon here, trying to be sneaky and just hiding. This is a really fearsome Pudge set, by the way. This beard that I've seen on a couple guys is just incredibly intimidating and scary. That bear Pudge set, though, I like that one the best. That one's definitely just when you see him, you just kind of shudder at the sight of this caveman-like Pudge coming at you. So early on, I think we see a nice CS lead coming out for Trench Warfare. The Brewmaster seems to be doing pretty well bottom. He hasn't really missed many last hits, and the Necrophos, he doesn't start off with great base damage. It's 51, so it's possible for him to miss some early last hits, and there we see one right there. It'll slow him down a little bit, but this is a hero that, if he gets his experience up, is just going to provide a lot more AoE to synergize with their team. So I do like the synergy that was picked here out of It's Fine. I think they really carefully considered the types of heroes that they had and the burst damage they had, plus finding a hero that they feel counters the strength-heavy lineup of Trench Warfare. So I think it's a pretty thoughtful draft for them, and it'll be interesting to see how the game develops. Jelly, of course, is pulling what his counterpart Pudge is doing at the top, just trying to finagle his way into some safe experience wherever he can. It's still there is a surprise sentry ward here, so they are going to try to kill him. He runs into it. There isn't. It doesn't look like they used. Oh, they put the other sentry ward in lane, so he's going to take a licking there, but he'll be able to safely get away. Hitting bottom here for the rune to help out his mid, since his mid typically has Embers in a bottle, whereas the Invoker is not. So securing those runes for your mid, or at least preventing the other guy from taking them, is going to be pretty important, generally in every game, as we see the Ember coming out with his bottle now. There's an EMP from Hilaria, but of course there already is no mana left on the Ember. He will now be getting his bottle, so that'll give him a bit more sustain and presence in lane, though the Invoker is doing a really good job. He's 13 for 6 up against the 6 for 2 of the Ember Spirit, and that's despite starting on a Quas build. So he didn't have that much base damage, and he had the Null Talisman to help out, but he's doing a pretty good job given those circumstances. Pretty good micro from him, I'd say. And Quas Wex, well, I think really the issue here for Trench Warfare is going to be what happens when the game progresses, if the game progresses beyond mid-game. I mean, where's your sources of damage? Once that Brewmaster ult starts to fall off, and the other team can just right-click them, as we see a nice hook coming out from Blake. And, well, he did manage to kill himself, although he might have been able to survive if he stopped rotting, I think. A pretty nice hook, nearly got a first blood for them. Ballsy play there by the Pudge, who is level 5, so he's gotten basically all he's needed out of that lane. He'll have his boots when he comes back to life, and he's got his hook up that'll allow him to generate some kills and roam around. So, back to what we were saying, once the Brewmaster falls off for Trench Warfare, it's going to be hard for them to generate enough damage and sustain damage throughout these fights. One thing that Necro does give you, and that AoE does give you, is that your team has a lot of sustained damage coming out from multiple sources, even though Necro isn't a traditional carry. So neither team has really a ton of physical damage this game, but just the Necro's degen by itself is eventually going to wear you down, and there isn't a comparable hero like that for Trench Warfare. They're very dependent on winning early to mid game, I feel. So you're going Quas Wex on Invoker instead of Exhort, which is a more damage heavy build. You're going for more control and more utility in early team fights. You're going to deprive It's Fine of their mana when they have not necessarily huge mana pools on their heroes. So I think that's an okay plan for them to go with, but they have to play it very crisply and cleanly early game, I feel. First of all, you have track coming out from the Dire, so that's going to generate a lot of gold for them. If you get into a trade situation, as we see, Jelly already has that track up. If you get in a situation where you're trading kills, that's going to favor the Dire in terms of gold. any situation in which you're not getting clean teamfight wins and pushing towers out of them is going to make things harder for the Radiant. So as the game progresses, I feel like based on their lineups, it's going to be a bit of a race against the clock. Once that Brewmaster gets his Blink Dagger, which he's pretty close to and will probably have by level 6, the onus is going to be on them to really just make some moves and try to build a decisive advantage. Otherwise, the Dire is just going to outlast them. That'll be exciting to see when this Pudge starts getting really aggressive along with the Brewmaster and everybody else. Lots of skill cappy heroes here, such as the Brew. There is an early CS advantage pretty pronouncedly in favor of the Radiant, as again, Traft on the Ember Spirit is beginning to catch up a bit, but there's a solid lead from the Invoker, and of course Brewmaster is double the last hits of his opposing Necrolite, who's decided to go Arcane Boots first. Interesting pickup here. Well, as we see some harassment and some exchange of fire coming out in mid, I will talk about this Arcane Boots pickup. I do not agree with it for Necro. I actually feel that Arcane Boots is the worst kind of boots on Necro. For reasons for that. First, not a particularly tanky hero, so you either want some kind of mobility or you want treads to give him some more survivability. The mana boots is not really that important, especially early. I mean, both heroes here are full mana, so it's not important for the lane phase. Also, he doesn't need that big of a mana pool. Usually you're going to be getting mana back when you level up your Sadist. And you only really need mana for two things. A Death Pulse or two, plus your ultimate from Reaper Sight, as we see a rotation here from the Dire to open things off, getting First Blood. Sorry, we missed that. The kill on the CM. Presumably also a track kill, so plenty of gold.
Dire's bottom
Actually
tower
gonna
is under attack.
kind of blocking the Panda here, but they can't take him down with his passive up. But they got First Blood. They managed to get out in time to avoid the Evoker's retaliation. So pretty nice turn of events to open things off, or it's fine. So I'm back to the Necro. I just feel there are better boots than Arcane Boots. It doesn't help him survive, as you're going to see here. That extra mana, you're going to get that amount of mana back usually anyway, just by last hitting from Sadist. Like, as teams are experiencing packet loss. Let's say you get your mana boots and it triggers once every 55 seconds to give you 135 mana. Well, if you get Sadist at just a few levels, you're going to get that much mana back anyway in that time span of 55 seconds just by nuking Creep Wave or picking up a few last hits. As looks like Valve's updating probably their latest patch, or perhaps the DDoSes are back. Not really sure. Anyway, so you saw there if you had treads on the Necrolite, then, or maybe even move speed, you might be able to get out of Pudge's clutches in time to save your life. But when you have the Arcane Boots, it doesn't add you anything there. You have more mana than you need most of the time as Necrophos, because you just want to get off a Death Pulse or two before you ult. So I just don't think Arcane Boots is a good pickup on the Necro. And that may come to hurt them down the road if you see Necro dying, say, before he gets his ult off, or not having mobility to get into position sooner or get himself out of dangerous positions. Those things are going to make all the difference in a game like this when he is your carry, and also when he's not farming particularly well. You need him to maximize the use of his gold.
Radiant's top tower is under
So,
attack.
nice hook there from Pudge. He does ferry himself a salve. He's up to level 8 now. So, best case scenario for him, he's only died once and he killed himself. It was a suicide, and he got a return kill on the carry. So both teams have to be pretty happy with what they're getting out of their offlane right now. Of course, Jelly got First Blood and a track kill. And I say this a lot, but it's a tale of two offlanes right now. Both the offlanes are kind of doing what they want. There is a charge here on Traft. He's going to try to kill the Pudge, but he's out of mana and he didn't bottle up, so he couldn't get his mana back there to try to cast some spells. Blake very astutely retreats, and they're going to try to get some revenge on Trap. There's a nice EMP. It barely catches him. There's a cold snap here on the Jakiro, and he most likely... There is a phase boots. Use it one more swing, and the heal does not get to him in time. Nicely done there by Illyria, getting a return kill. And an aggressive dive there on the Pudge, I feel not necessarily justified. If you don't have mana or the ability to hold him in place, then you probably shouldn't go charging at him like that. And again, I don't want to harp on the Necrolite, but perhaps if he had a move speed item there, or some kind of healing item, something that made him move faster, or treads, then might have been able to save his ally and just hit him with that death pulse to keep him alive. So I think we already see two instances where the Arcane Boots is proving less than optimal for him. Opportunistic Earthshaker here, doing a good job getting some farm and experience while his mid laner is away. This is something that I have to see. You like seeing supports do this. You like seeing teams make some space for their allies to get some farm and catch up, especially heroes like Earthshaker, who become significantly more effective with just that one item, which is of course the Blink Dagger. There's a huge stack here. Is this a 4 stack? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is this a 5 stack? I'm just astounded right now. There's just an army of trolls, and in fact the stack almost took down the Necrolite, but that's a crap ton of neutrals and experience and easy death pulse kills here, so I'm really happy that the ES did that. I like that he got to share in some of the experience too, which wasn't as bountiful as expected because it was a stack of the easy camp rather than the hard camp, but farm is farm, and that's going to inflate the Necrolite's last hit numbers a bit too, because instead of getting regular creeps, he's gotten a bunch of small stacks. But you do like to see support stacking and maximizing the gold available on the map, so props to the Earthshaker for doing that. It looks like the teams are going to gather bottom. Necrolite looks like he's about to pick up a TP. And yeah, we might have our first huge team fight of the game here bottom if both teams do decide to engage. And at this point, with his Blink and ultimate up, and with the solid amount of experience in the Pudge, I have to say that if there's a battle out here, I think it would favor the Radiant, to be honest. And there's a hook in from the Pudge. He is going to bite the Bounty Hunter and grab the kill. Earthshaker's also going to go down. Trapped is going to try to engage and make something happen, but with the Brew Stomp and the ult unable to bring down the Pudge. Brewmaster ult now, just expect that to be doing work. Trapped gets stunned. Boulder has already been used, but he's going to have it up momentarily. Here comes the Boulder. 3 kills there for Pudge, who manages to deny himself, and a team fight going, I'd say, pretty favorably in favor of the Radiant. They did lose the Invoker, and they also lost the Pudge, but the Pudge committed suicide, and they managed to get a kill on the core Ember Spirit and two other kills on the Earthshaker and Bounty Hunter. So 3 for 2 situation coming out for the Radiant. I think could have gone better, but this is what we're talking about, playing to their strengths here. Just maximizing their ultimates and their strength in early and mid-game team fights. That was a fight that maybe the Dire did not want to take, or maybe Necro wasn't in position to optimally get the most out of his spells. So again, I also don't know if they got any track kills out of that. I don't feel like they did, because Jelly died so early in the fight when he was hooked in by the Pudge. So I think that was a fight that was not to their advantage. I don't know if they want to be doing stuff like that or trying to force towers or force these fights, because I just, frankly, I don't know if it really favors them. Blake has had a really good game on the Pudge. I don't know if he played Pudge earlier in the series, but I could see if he requested it from his captain, why his captain would honor that request. He's played it pretty well. And with the CM aura helping him, there's another nice hook there out on Jelly. They don't have the texture for him, though. So an astute call to quickly shadow walk out of harm's way for Jelly, but a nice hook from Blake. He's played pretty well in this Pudge.
Twice the cutting power.
So, as we see Windows 98 approaching the mech, not that much farm really coming out from the Dire. Not many great items for them so far. And they're progressing kind of slowly towards that. So that again plays into the hands of trench warfare. As another nice hook from Pudge connects. Gotta watch out for that safe zone right there, man. So Hot Carl is the victim of the old butcher's hook this time. And there is a nice ward here. I think Dyer might be suspecting that there is a ward giving Pudge this vision uphill for these hooks. And actually, okay, some overlapping sentry wards here. Oh, I guess to replace the one that was about to expire. So that uphill ward is allowing them to see who's TPing in, where the enemy heroes are positioned. It's allowing them to get pickoffs like the one you just saw from the Pudge too. So, you know, again, I always talk about this. I'm a fan of lane wards, especially lanes where you expect there to be plenty of action. It's always good to have upfill vision so you can make better decisions and have more information. So, I like that. It's fine. Are kind of on the back foot at this point. They don't have a mech yet on the Necrolite. Their heroes are feeling a bit antsy knowing the kill power of the Pudge and of course the tremendous fighting potential of the Invoker and Brewmaster at this point. And this is really when Radiant are strong and I think they have to push their advantage. I mean, I don't think they're that great late game against the likes of Ember and Necrolite, but they're at a really strong position right now where they're significantly further ahead. And where their heroes just excel right now. Like Brew Ult gives you so much value. Invoker EMP Tornado gives you so much more value at this point when there aren't huge mana pools or ways of recuperating. So I think, excuse me, I think Trench Warfare should try and extract more out of this advantage, as it's fine is going to look for some pickoffs. There's another hook from the Pudge, narrowly misses Jakiro in the same spot. Hot Carl, gotta watch yourself, man. Try not to die there in the same spot to the Pudge hook. And they did see him up there, so if Jelly... Oh no, well, I guess they caught a glimpse of him, but weren't sure if he was there. So Jelly might be wondering if they have a ward there. Instead, this is a Dyer who have vision in that area. So this ward is an interesting place. It doesn't give them high ground vision when one of Pudge's favorite spots tends to be in that area. So you might want to get vision there, but it does allow them to see most of the river, and if he tries to go up and get the rune. So kind of a stalemate situation for both teams. Nothing's really been forced out so far, and they're kind of cautiously just watching each other from across the river. This is you know, like a standoffish army is just watching the other army situation, waiting to see what they do. And again, I think every moment that this game stalls favors the Dyer. I think there's a certain critical mass that the Radiant will hit with their key items. Some of them are already starting to come into. So we see the Brewmaster has his all-important blink, and he's halfway to his Aghanims, more than halfway, in fact. So when that happens, we're going to see he's going to be even more of a beast in his ult mode. So Radiant are beginning to force the issue here. It looks like Brewmaster did TP bottom, so he's not going to be able to join this mid-fight immediately. But Dyer is still feeling confident. Maybe they think that their 4 can handle it. Oh, looks like another nice hook came out from Blake. Keep missing these hooks, damn. He was able to claim that bounty hunter and then just brought him to death in the river. So one more defender of this tower is taken down. Their slow and gradual approach to peeling back the defenses seems to be working, as it'll soon be their creeps and heroes beating on that tower, which is at half health. There's a Macropyre coming out from the Jakiro, killing the creeps. Not a bad use of that spell. Blake has nestled himself into this sneaky little nook in the trees. He's being pinged out, though, so I think the other team knows where he is. And, is it the ward? I'm not sure if it was the ward that gave them just the smidgens of vision to be able to suss out his location there, but a good disengage from the Dyer. Jelly up here in the high ground is probably going to want to track as many people as he can. Oh, there is a ward. So the hook does miss from the Pudge. Fight is breaking out here in the mid. There's an EMP depriving Hot Carl and Traft of mana, so that's going to end things for them. Invoker is surging forward with his move speed. He is able to finish off the Jakiro.
Dyer's top tower is under attack.
2-0 so far, and it doesn't look like there's enough juice left with It's Fine to be able to grab any return kills. So another nice engagement there. They didn't even have to commit any anything significant like Brew ult, and Brew, by the way, just 700 gold away from his Aghanim Scepter.
Dire's top
They
tower
bought
is
time for
under
him
attack.
to farm the item they needed. They took down the tower, killed the core Ember Spirit and the Jakiro with a nice EMP, and Trench Warfare is looking to be in really good shape right now, but again, it's kind of a race against the clock. They have to be able to convert their advantage into an overwhelming, insurmountable advantage, or they're probably going to fall behind against a sustain and be unable to crack it. So, race against time for them. And now we see Blake again. And this is something good to see on Pudge, or any hero in general. Blake does a very good job of using the Fog of War. He always tries to conceal himself. As Pudge, of course, if they see you, you're very unlikely to hit hooks, but if you're suddenly throwing them out of nowhere from behind trees, it becomes harder to dodge them. Looks like It's Fine are gathering bottom. They want a tower of their own. I'm not sure if this is the best idea, with a Brewmaster there, with his ultimate clearly up because he hasn't used it in a long time. And it looks like they will disengage from that. They are applying some split pressure here with Jelly Top. It's a good move for them. Spread out the opponent, make them split defend, and break up their basically death ballish composition and force it to be spread thin. So I think this is a good move. I think we can expect to see a TP top any moment now, and there it is from the Brewmaster. But he does have a dust, so he's not going to be able to kill Jelly unless he commits a split, so it's a nice job there. Making sure you carry the TP. Of course, if he had more help with him, he might have died anyway. But
Radiant's middle tower
that's a pretty good example of space created. I think you move the Brewmaster top. The Brew, of course, doesn't care that much about doing that and getting that farm because he has been prioritized for farm anyway. He's basically been there one position, and he's about to have his Aghanim Scepter. But you see a really timely EMP here coming out from Malaria. He managed to take away both Earthshaker and Ember Spirit's mana. Looks like Necrophos will not get off his Reaper Scythe. Again, a matter of maybe if he had a little more HP there and survived, he would have gotten that off, but instead he didn't. So Necrophos drops. They do ultimately get the Invoker, but at what cost? The Bounty Hunter falls. It looks like they're being pursued here. They don't have mana, so they can't fight back. Pudge has his hook up. He's going to line it up. It's just going to be just short of the mark. Another 2-for-1 situation. It is a mid going down, but for Trench Warfare, rather. But they did lose the carry again on It's Fine. And they lost a Bounty Hunter in addition to that. So, not a good trade. And again, some of these trades are happening without the Brewmaster. The Brewmaster's only used his ult once this game. He is level 11 with an Aghanims, ready to show off his new ult stick. But with relatively minimal commitment, Trench Warfare has done a pretty good job taking these early skirmishes and establishing an advantage. As we see, the gold graph isn't huge, but you know, at this point, how much of a gold advantage do you need? It's really the hero advantage that's making the difference so far. And there's the Orchid up on the Invoker despite that death. So a huge pickup from him. It's just going to help against so much more. Orchid really threatens heroes such as Ember Spirit before they have a countermeasure to it. It basically stops the Ember in his tracks and allows him to be bursted down. It also is good for heroes like Necro or Earth Spirit or Earthshaker, anybody who's counting on those spells to be able to do anything, which can be said is almost the entirety of the It's Fine team, with the exception of maybe Bounty Hunter. So here comes Brewmaster. He knows that he's in the midst of some enemies, but they're probably not going to be able to bring him down unless they have the Necrophos, which they don't. Here comes the Aghanim split. Nice Fissure, kind of locking them away from the fight, but this EMP is going to be disastrous. Draft will fall again. The Earthshaker's going to get silenced upon landing. He will also bite. Rock is back up for the Brewmaster. There goes out to Hot Carl, and this will be the third casualty in the fight. The Dire. As their Necrophos was not there, and without any earn charges and without much significant burst, Jelly also couldn't contribute in that team fight. So a 3-for-0 for Panda ult. I would say that's totally worth it. That's what they want to get out of their Panda ults. They want you to commit to a fight, the Radiant 2, so that they can Panda ult and punish you for it. And it looks like they're about to take down this tower as well. So the Necro did try to apply some split pressure, and his mech is finished. I'm not sure what he's going for next, possibly an Aghanim Scepter. But they're having a hard time holding their towers in these early skirmishes, as expected based on the lineups that we figured out. This tower is out of deny range, so that's not too bad for Radiant. The next push that they make may be able to claim it. Now this game has been marred here by server lag. I'm sure at some point the Valve servers will normalize, whether it's from the attacks that have been going on, which they made a post about, or just this new set of updates that they're making for the holidays. So yeah, we'll get started back up here momentarily. The lead is increasing for trench warfare. And they're just leveraging their strong heroes at this phase of the game to continue building their lead. And they don't have many towers yet. They only have one tier 1 tower. So that is something in favor of It's Fine to have not lost any towers at 25 minutes into the game except one. So are fighting kind of tooth and nail to hold on to their towers, but if they get wiped in these team fights, it may not matter. Towers will fall by the wayside. You'll see a nice initiation on Ilaria. That Necrophos is out of position, dies instantly, unable to be saved because the Orchid kind of stopped him from healing himself or ulting. Peanut Butter walks up looking for a fissure, but he's not going to get the one he wants, and Rod from Jelly will be able to finish, the Rod from Pudge, rather, will be able to finish off Jelly. But they do manage to end the Pudge Wicked 6 streak. A couple kills coming out here from the Jakiro. They killed the Brewmaster as well, as he did not have his split, I believe, and the Ogre also fell. So that was a nice hold from It's Fine. An example of their AoE paying dividends there, as they did manage to win that fight with the aid of Echo Slam as well and the Jakiro's AoE. And so they managed to, it was a good job there. I'm not sure if they discussed this or not, but maybe they talked about, hey, Brew doesn't have his ult, let's fight. Certainly a good choice. A bit of an overextension here, and I think they might pay the price for it, although if they get greedy and try for both kills. There is a Brew split being used. Earthshaker's going to drop bottom, but it does look like the hero's going to get away. Questionable decision here. You have to wonder why It's Fine decided to fight into Brew instead of letting it just go down, and they are going to lose Jelly here. So I think it was a situation there, a mistake begetting mistake. It's Fine pushed too far after grabbing those 3 kills, tried to take the tower. They got TP'd in on, and then Just Incredible blew his ultimate for basically was a single target. He didn't really get any kills out of it, and that allowed things to get almost turned around, or rather, his ult was almost wasted, but Dire continued to pursue and made his ult do some damage, and now here they're chasing them back through the tower, which is no longer there, it's been raised. And Invoker showing tremendous tempo, able to run extremely fast, get up in there with Tornado, EMP, and Orchid, and just grab these quick pickoffs on relatively squishy heroes like the Necrolite and Ember. And again, these are not good defensive heroes. These are not heroes that play well when they're being targeted and focused, which is kind of what having a lineup with tempo and great mid-game control allows you to do. It allows you to just run at them and dump your spells before they can. Without items, Ember doesn't do a whole ton of damage. ES has, looks like, scrapped his Blink Dagger plan and decided to go for a Drums just to get some more survival and mana pool up. And of course, Necro, with this build, he's got 1,000 HP. He has mana boots, but only 1,000 HP, and it's not that hard to kill him, frankly. He does have armor now, but, you know, what's armor really going to do here? Not the right-click damage that's bringing you down, it's the burst. With 1,000 HP and no pipe or anything like that, which I think, by the way, is a must-have item for the Dire in a game like this. You absolutely need pipe when so much of the other team's damage is coming from magical burst. So it looks like they're thinking about going on the Brew, but he did just get his ultimate back, so I don't think that was going anywhere. Good instincts from him to disengage. As the Radiant lead continues to grow, it's currently up to about 7,000-8,000 gold, and they're going to add to it, with a near pick-off on the Jakiro. He does survive thanks to a timely mech. Nice AoE set of spells from Traft, the captain. He did manage to catch just about everyone with his Searing Chains and Flame Guard. But the fight is still breaking out. Brewmaster's still alive, he's down to his last panda. Nice ult there, killing the Pudge. Great turnaround. timely magic stick there saves the Earthshaker from the Brewmaster. Will the Brew get away? It looks like without enough mana from the opponent, he's going to be able to get to safety. So, look at the fight recap. Another 3 for 2 in favor of the Dire. I do get the sense a bit that things are beginning to shift now in favor of the Dire. Maybe not the gold. Maybe the gold isn't reflecting that. But the Brewmaster Ultimate is not totally reigning supreme in these fights. The Reaper Scythe is just doing work, keeping heroes dead for much longer than they should be. He managed to actually get it off that fight. And of course, Invoker has a ton of burst with his initial set of spells, and the tempo that we're talking about, but if the follow-up isn't perfect, or if they don't catch everybody, or if they walk into AoE that kind of reverses tempo or delays the course of their dropping fatal spells, as we see from heroes like Earthshaker and Jakiro, or just excellent tempo disruption heroes, then there is an opening for the Dire to land their AoE spells and win the fight, as we saw there. So, in terms of towers, I mean, that fight bottom was a rout in favor of Trench Warfare, but they only have 3 towers total. They haven't really been knocking on the door of the base. It is 30 minutes, and they don't even have a Roshan to show for it yet, so some more objectives probably need to be taken by Trench Warfare. There's some aggressive wards coming out here from the Dire to kind of tell them where the gathering point is. These wards based on the timer, not this one, but this one deep in the jungle, is a relatively fresh ward. I'm not sure if I agree with the placement of this ward. I don't think Dire's in a position where they're ready to go on the offensive or try to control this part of the jungle. I also think bottom lane is less likely in the next few minutes to be a staging area for the Radiant because they already have both towers down here, so I think they're more likely to try and gather and take mid or top. So, I'm not too sure about the utility of that ward. I'm not sure if it's really giving them vision over an area that they'll be able to control or contest. So, but it is what it is. It does tell them if the enemy are gathering there. Jelly does look like he's going to start working towards either his BKB or his Desolator. He's had a relatively quiet game, but track creates gold over time, so it's like just each kill is just an additional drop in the bucket for everybody else. Hot Carl does finally have up his Yule Scepter. He ended some streaks earlier. He's just 2-5 with no assists, but one of those 2 kills was a big streak, I believe, on the Pudge, a 7 or 8 streak. So that helped finance his Yule Scepter, and that's going to give him some great counter initiation potential as he sees his ally being gone on here. He's going to try to help. A nice Ice Path helps keep Jelly alive, but he might have just stepped in to pay the price for his friend. And yeah, he is going to go down here. And Jelly himself looks like he's not going to be safe. Oh, a nice hook by Blake, but he bit Jelly out of rot range, so he wasn't able to bring him down. Jakiro is the only hero to fall so far, but we see Brewmaster is ready with his near BKB completed to jump in, clap, and ult, and there it is. They didn't manage to stun him or stop him in time. That hook seemed to go right through the neck, I'm not sure what that was. And now the backlines are going to have some trouble dealing with the Brewmaster. It's a question of can they survive until the Brewmaster comes back to Earth form. There is an ult there from the Earthshaker, manages to kill the CM, but he himself looks like he's going to go up into the air and they're going to be able to bring him down. So there's a 3 for 2 fight rather. Pudge killed himself, so technically 3 for 1. The battle's still raging. Jelly's running away down here trying to be cheeky, but he's going to get caught. Are they going to be able to kill him? There's a tornado, and that'll be the end. So, with a couple kills coming after the end of the fight, that is a 4 for 2 with Pudge denying himself. And they got a tower out of it as well. So, another nice fight there, keyed basically by the Brewmaster. But we're going to start seeing this phenomenon as the Brewmaster is... looks like... Oh, he versus BKB. Not sure where he's going to go next. Maybe a sheep or an assault cuirass or something. We're going to start seeing a situation where the fights go a little bit more in favor of the Dire if they can try to weather the impact of the initial Brewmaster ult. But also, it's how much gas do you have in the tank left if you're the Radiant Trench Warfare, even if you win a fight. Do you have enough gas left in the tank? And You know, I find this a fitting analogy to their team name, Trench Warfare, which is even if you win a battle, it's at what cost? Do you have enough left to actually take in the territory? In the case of Trench Warfare in World War I, although that's not the trench that they're talking about, then the answer is no. You don't really have enough momentum to move forward and take any space. And that's going to be a problem for them. That's going to be what they're looking to do. They need to win these fights and take more objectives. They got a tier 1 there, but they're going to start needing more soon because I think the tide's going to shift in favor of the Dire. Their AoE is very potent. Their sustain's going to grow stronger as Windows 98 approaches. Let's see, his Shiva's Guard. Get HP, man. Get magic resistance. That's what you need to stay alive. As we see, the mid Traft is approaching his Battle Fury. It's going to be a late Battle Fury, but better late than never. He's only 1 item away at this point. And Earthshaker has his drum, so as you saw in that last fight, he was a bit harder to bring down. Just in general, these heroes are going to get tankier and stronger against the single target early team fight focus. There is a sheep stick out on the Invoker as well, so that's going to be kind of scary. But you're going to see Dire, I think, do better and better in these fights. Here's another clean engage. They don't have the silence on Trap, so he's not going to be able to get away. A nice Echo Slam from the Earthshaker. Oh, they kill the Invoker. The Invoker dies to Tower Fire, but still a pretty important kill for them. Brew ult is going to be coming out soon. Look for the ult from Windows 98. He has it up. He's not going to use it just right there, but he still has it if the Pudge chooses to stay. And it looks like both sides are going to be content to disengage. There's a 3-for-3 fight there without Windows 98 using his ult, so I think his team's got to be telling him, just ult someone, man. Just ult someone. But
Dire's middle tower is
without him getting that off, it's still a 3-for-3. It looks like the tier 2 tower as the fight recap disappeared right before my eyes. I was about to click it. They're going to take another tower here for their efforts, but again, it's starting to get the going is starting to get tougher. It's starting to become tougher sledding, and they're starting to get slogged down here. Didn't really even come close to killing the Necrolite in that fight. The Necrolite didn't even feel the need or the opportunity to ult. The Earthshaker's nearing his Blink Dagger, got off a really nice ult. Brewmaster is finding trouble doing enough in his ultimate form to just totally make the fights a blowout. They got that tower, but hey, their own tower got deniable and went down, so the tower count is almost even right now, as Trench Warfare only lead by 1 in that category. The gold has still continues to climb a little bit in favor of Trench Warfare, but it's mostly held steady. There hasn't been a huge spike in momentum, and it's a 10k gold edge. But again, you have to look at the heroes. At this point, what does more gold really get you? Trench Warfare doesn't really have any heroes that scale extremely well with gold once they get their core items. Even if Brewmaster gets, say, well, he has a Travels now, but let's say he gets some kind of combat item or an Assault Cuirass. Sure, it'll help the team, but it's not going to be that great for him. With Invoker, since he's going more of a control build here with Quas Wex, although he does have a number of points up in Exhort. He's going to have to switch to dealing damage, but again, Invoker doesn't scale that well with items compared to a traditional carry. So, you know, we can almost disregard the net worth charts in some sense here. It's really going to come down to buildings and objectives. Forget about the gold. It's fine going to be able to hold? Are they going to get their Battle Fury and next tier of items up on the Ember? Or are they going to be able to get some defensive item up on him to stop Silence? Maybe a BKB next after his Battle Fury. They're approaching their Dagger here on Peanut Butter. That's going to be huge. And the Necro, I mean, again, the items, getting armor on him isn't really helping him survive that much because it's not how they're killing him. But as the game progresses, he's going to get more and more HP. I'm sure he'll start getting something like Aghanim's or something that gives him survivability. It's going to be harder and harder to kill him. They didn't even touch him in that last fight. So in the next fight, if they can't burst him down or kill him, I just want to say his Heartstopper Aura is just going to do a ton of work. Minus 1.5% health decay per second, which does even more in terms of raw HP on strength heroes. Not by percentage, but just in terms of raw HP, which is always good when you're dealing with an AoE team, when you have an AoE team.
Double damage!
So you see the Radiant gathering top. It looks like they realize that the window is, I don't want to say closing, but narrowing for them. An interesting move there from Jelly. Pudge does have a Dust, so I'm not sure if he wanted to awaken the beast there, although he does have backup coming in. No, the Pudge is not going to pursue. Aware that he's probably not in great timing. Pudge is the only person that is not accompanying this team on Death Ball. I think Radiant might want to exhibit some more patience here. They might actually want to get a pick off first before they force a team fight, because if this is a 4-on-5 situation, which may very well be with Trap TPing after he finishes his Battle Fury, it could be the first fight of the game we see going totally in favor of the Dire. Nice multicast to open things off on 2 multicasts there. So there's Aghanim Scepter. They are going to save him with the timely Blink ult from the ES. But that 3rd multicast, 3 in a row, luck of the draw, is going to bring down the Necrophos. That's just going to spell disaster. Jelly drops. So does the Jakiro. It's too late for Trap to come into this fight and do anything. He shows up, dies for free, and the Earthshaker gets hooked, so it is going to be a team wipe. Absolute disaster top here for the Radiant. Sorry, for the Dire. And, a couple things I want to point out with that fight. I don't know if they were lagging or not, but that Necrophos got himself way out of position. He jumped too far forward. The Ogre did get extremely lucky multicasting him 3 times in a row, but you have to be careful not to expose yourself as Necrophos. Your aura, your Heartstopper aura has a huge range. You don't need to be up in people's faces, exposing yourself in harm's way. This is why some Necrophos you'll see get a blink dagger, so you can suddenly blink in when it's time to ult someone. So he exposed himself way too much there. ES did a good job of trying to shelter and protect him, but it wasn't enough to keep him alive, especially with that 3rd multicast coming out. Once their team was out of position, once Necrophos was dead, no more heals, no more ults, no more degen, and things just started going south. And then finally, to put the cherry on top, although not in a good way, the Ember Spirit TP'd in basically to a 4-on-1 situation and died, and then the Earthshaker got hooked. So that was a disastrous fight for It's Fine. Just when I thought they were doing okay and beginning to stabilize, I think a really disastrous fight that the Radiant needed. Again, they haven't lost their Raxes, they did lose a base tower, so in the objective game, they're still not critically behind, but that fight didn't get them any closer to their goals. You want to keep growing through the fights at this point. You want to keep getting closer to your items and mitigating the opponent's growth, or at least staying on par with it, so that your heroes that scale better with gold and start to build that edge to help you win the game. But that was a big setback for them. And I think Necrophos is saving for buyback here, but he's got to be more careful with his positioning. I think he's the key to most of these fights. I mean, he hasn't gotten off a great ult in any of them. Doing so will significantly delay the respawn timer of a key hero on the other team. So he's got to be able to live and get off that ult. He's got to be able to live so that the AoE can bring someone down low enough for him to ult. And of course, Trapped, also the captain, has to be a bit more careful about his decision making there. He kind of went into a totally lost situation. Again, you got to communicate with your team. If you don't want to defend that tower, or you're going to be late defending it, just speak up and you won't have to lose anybody. You'll just lose the tower. But if you have kind of a disjointed, disorganized fight like that, then you might lose multiple objectives, multiple heroes, and the objective. So communication, of course, one of the toughest parts of Dota, and the absolute key to Team Dota. It's why teams succeed, it's why teams fail. It's why teams stay together, it's why teams disband. So we'll see if there are any adjustments made for the rest of this game for It's Fine, in terms of being able to recognize what their strategy is. There's a Desolator now, and the Battle Fury is completed. And of course, we saw the Blink flashed for the first time by the ES that fight. So some of the items, and it looks like Necrophos is probably going BKB here. I like that. That's a good choice. I wish he'd done that sooner. And so the Radiant are trying to take a Roshan here, kind of saying, well, we dare you to fight us. We'll take you in a team fight, but we do need Rosh to help cushion the blow from the attrition that we may suffer during team fights. So it's a pretty good choice from them. Doesn't look like they'll contest this. It doesn't look like there's any towers even for them for Necro to TP to if they do want to contest. So they are doing the right thing here, which is try to get an objective or create pressure elsewhere. Although it's not going to be soon enough to cause too much damage, and Necro has to be careful or he might die. Here he's bitten. There is backup coming in for the Ogre. Is he going to get there in time? Doesn't matter. Yes, he is. There's that stun, and Windows 98 kind of overstayed his welcome there with the split push. Once Roshan dies, or even before, as soon as you hear the TP, that's got to be your cue to get out of there, or even sooner, knowing that there's a Blink Dagger on the Pudge and mobility items on the other team when you yourself do not have mobility. So Just some mistakes were there with game sense and knowing what you're able to do, what you're able to survive. Again, there's a huge net worth lead out of Trench, but it may not matter if they cannot convert these kills to more solid, concrete, permanent objectives. The Panda is basically all going to be downhill from here. Whatever he gets is going to be ancillary and helping out his team, but it's not going to make his ult that much stronger. And I mean, there isn't a huge amount of right click coming out from It's Fine, but even as is, they might have enough to just kill the pandas outright in panda form. So he has to be worried about that. Nice EMP there from Malaria. Is an Echo Slam. They're going to try to kill him, and they do manage to bring him down. Just incredible. The Panda, is there going to be an ult? Nope, the Necrolite is dead, so of course there isn't going to be an ult. But how much can this Panda do by himself with the split? And I think the answer is not much, so a nice successful hold there coming out from It's Fine. I think the Invoker got a little overzealous there, going up by himself without his team to back him up. It cost him dearly. He got bursted down by the Earthshaker, and the Brewmaster blew an ult just so that he himself wouldn't die, and that's just, they're on the back foot now, and that's not the situation that you want to be in as Trench. This is, you want to be the one dictating the pace and in control, and you're not. So here we see another fight coming out. 3 people get into that ice path. There's a BKB on the Brewmaster. The ult is up from Windows 98. Is he going to get it off? There it is. He's going to be able to heal himself through the triggering of his